Oh, good afternoon, everyone. It's Thursday, October 2nd. Uh, I think we're all here, wherever we are, we're here. This is Finding Truth Everywhere, and in which we take an hour and talk about a YouTube that we've all watched. Usually it involves some kind of teaching, spiritual teaching or spiritual experience. We really run the gamut. We have a wide range of different folks that we listen to and topics that we discuss. Today we're talking about a YouTube interview that Anthony Shen, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his last name, that he did. Anthony Shen has done numerous YouTube videos of near-death experiences, and some of them are among the best I've ever seen. So this week we're looking at a woman named Poncia Dianati, which sounds like an Italian name, but she was born in La Jolla, California. And at the age of 3, she moved to a small farming town called Kerman. I'm not sure where that was. Um, she was actually immersed in Farsi language, Persian values, and that really rich cultural and spiritual heritage. So Pancia Dianati, I don't know, that doesn't sound Persian to me, but what do I know? She had a number of different experiences, and which she talks about a little bit. She says that even as a young girl, she constantly would talk to her, whatever God was for her. That's who she was reaching out to. And she said that that was always a loving presence for her. She studied psychology and education at UC Irvine in California. She got a master's in teaching, and then she got her PhD in clinical psychology from the California Institute for Human Sciences. So that's her background. So this was a really interesting interview. I've talked to a couple of people about it. Interesting from a number of viewpoints. Most of us, most of the folks that I've talked with, kind of really honed in on that. She said that she knew voices. She heard voices as a child, and she knew when something quote unquote bad was going to happen. And she became sort of obsessed with becoming friends with God. And at the age of 18, she saw auras and she heard messages, and she just had a lot of really interesting things happen to her. She had an NDE in 2022 following surgery that she had. And so it seems as though a lot of the communications that she had were in warnings about things that were going to happen. And after her NDE, where she found herself sort of in this mountainous area, and she said there were demigods on the mountains, and each god or goddess had a mountaintop. And she wanted to stay there, as is so often the case. But the voice, which was very loving, told her that she could stay, but if she went back, she would be of service to humanity. So she came back. There were a number of questions that were asked. Um, she was asked, why doesn't God talk to me? Like that's what a lot of people would say. So she answered that. She said, God does talk to most people, but people don't listen. She was asked, how do people experience the death process? And how can people who have crossed over send us messages when they're gone? And she said she recognizes when people are going to cross over because the light in their eyes dim. She said that gets kind of gray. She talked a lot about how the ancestral family of folks is often there to greet them as they pass. Um, she said people that die on drugs or with a really painful death experience often are confused in the crossing. That's her experience. She was asked, how do we learn to listen to our guides and angels? And she said, you have to open to it. And they often come in messages of three. She said, look for patterns. And they will come, they will use whatever strengths we have. So if you have an ability to remember your dreams, they'll often come in dreams. If music is your strength, they'll often come with music. If you enjoy silence, they'll come in silence. If you really listen a lot with your heart, they'll come through something that your heart will recognize. But she said, the more you trust it, the more you learn, which has always been my experience as well. The more you're willing to open and investigate and see whether or not the things that seem to be intuitive guidance are helpful, that the more you'll be open to listening and the more you'll notice. She said, we have complete free will in this universe, which she then kind of modified a little bit. But she said the signs will come, and if you ignore them, they'll keep getting louder and louder. And that if you're looking for signs, you can ask for clear, repetitive signals that you will recognize. So she's really communicating with whatever she thinks is guiding her. She's really open to conversation with it and treating it like it's her friend and her help mate in many ways. And then she was asked, how do we know the difference between psychic abilities and psychological disorders? I thought this was a very interesting answer. She said, the person that has psychic abilities is grounded and their life will not be chaotic. It might have chaotic moments, but it is generally more grounded. And she said that indigenous people will train their young to develop their skills. So people are often born with these abilities that in indigenous or that are more less intellectual, more I'm using my words here that may not be correct, but more tribal, grounded societies who are more open to communicating in non-intellectual ways will recognize these abilities in their young and then will train them to use whatever skills they have in more grounded ways, more helpful ways. Although I'm not sure that that's always true, but she did say that. So she said, you have to stay in your reality and also have your ability. So she said, you literally have to have your foot planted in two worlds and that it can be confusing. And she said, when she gets downloads that are too heavy for her, too much for her, she'll say, this is too much. You need to slow this down. I'm having trouble understanding it. Or give me only what I can handle right now in the highest situation for this other person's highest good. So she definitely keeps the door open and really is interacting with whatever is sending her the message. And then, this was an interesting question. How do we protect ourselves from dark entities and should we fight against them? Now, this is interesting for me in that Paul Selig with the guides often begins his downloads with a prayer of protection, which I find very interesting. What is it? He says, what does he say? The love of God enfolds me, the light of God surrounds me, the power of God protects me. And then God is wherever I am, God is, God is, God is, God is. So he does recognize that when he opens himself, that there are other non-physical energies that may not have his highest interests in in mind. So I thought this was an interesting question. And she said, and she answered it in a really Course in Miracles way. Um, she said, you don't want to kill them, but it's tempting to want to do that, which I thought was interesting. She said, if you attack them, they will take that negative energy, that attack energy, and they will use it. They enhance themselves with it. They're small, medium, and large. So she said they don't call them demons, don't call them something negative, because that fear just gives them power. She said they're like the military, so they have these hierarchies. And she said, if you're sad, they'll feed off your lower emotions. They'll keep reminding you of your own weakness. Um, they'll keep reinforcing your fears and your sadnesses. This reminded me a little bit of Eckhart Tolle's, what does he call it? Someone will
Pain
remember,
body.
the pain body. He calls it the pain body. This is interesting, and we hear this so much. She said the best way to deal, so don't be afraid of your negative emotions, don't fear your fear, process it immediately. So be in touch with it. Know that it's happening right away. Allow it to come up, allow it to be there, and then let it flow through you. She said, process your emotions and your trauma when you feel it. So um, she mentioned this book, which I really want to look up, Healing Stories, My Journey from Mainstream Psychiatry Towards Spiritual Healing by Robert Alcorn, MD. So that's out there, and I could put that in the chat. So that was that. She said we all have trauma. Everyone has trauma, but it needs to be seen because the shadow side is a big part of our power, right? So you cannot project your anger or your shadow onto others. If you recognize it, let it show you what it is, then then it can be your aid and your friend, right? She said, guilt is self-punishment and there is no hell. Um, Next question was, do you practice visualization? And she got into talking about the law of attraction. That was interesting. What I took from that was be careful what you think you want to manifest. So that was good. Um, and then the question, why is it important to ask for help? And she said, when we ask, we get more help. She said, God already knows what you need and what you want. You're just opening to whatever's already there. You're just saying, you're recognizing that it's there. She said, God wants us to be like little kids. I don't think I can make it up these steps all by myself. Could you take my hand and help me up? And as soon as you ask that, it's there, right? She said, God is the force, and the dark forces will try to take you off that path by using guilt and negative emotions. So stay in touch with God all the time, right? It's important to know your shadow side because otherwise you'll be open to it and vulnerable to it. Then the last question was, why do we come into this world and what's the future? She said, we all come here to help. We all come here to help. And it's bigger than the little mind can understand. She said, we're here, just as the guide said, we're here to build a new earth, a whole new earth. And we're graduating from this planet to really embody our oneness with God, whatever you want to call God. We become one with God, and then we do God's work. She said, enlightenment doesn't mean you're Zen all the time. Your heart can still feel for humanity, and there is an awakening happening, and all the prophecies have predicted a golden age, but she says that's not a guarantee. So that's the main points that I got out of it, and so welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad that everyone's here, and let's open it up with Julie. What have you got for us, Julie?
All right. Good morning, everyone, or good
Good
afternoon
morning.
now. Yes. Thank you. A couple of months ago, you had said that we had heard NDE in this, and you had recommended Andrew Chen, however you say his name. And so I heard this lady before, and I thought it was phenomenal. And so I felt like, oh, I have a little bonus this time because I kind of had notes already. But I got to listen again. And so it was cool because I'm definitely in a different spot. But the one I loved everything about it. I loved that they asked her question and she answered. When she was talking about the manifesting, it really hit home with me because I've shared with you that my husband and I are going to be moving in a couple months to St. Louis, and I'm excited, but then I have these fears come through. And okay, we're going to find the right home. Is this house going to sell? And then now my husband has to have back surgery, so we're finding that out next week. So it's all these long, and I'm like, just stay in today, just stay in today, and God's got you. God's got you. And then I like what she said, if you pray about it, only give this, you say, only give this to me, God, if it's in the highest good for me. If not, I don't want it. And I thought, oh, that sounded really well. And also, when I pray for this house, that I'm going to fill it with love and laughter because that's what God's all about is love, family. So that really hit home with me. Um, I liked how self love is a big winner with God. He doesn't mean we're perfect because we're not. It just means we deserve good things. And that really resonated with me. I think they asked a question about religion, and she had said, all religions and spiritual paths have good parts. They don't have a complete picture because not everyone is happy in one religion. And I thought some good, some bad. I thought, oh, okay, I can relate to that. And what you also said, we came to the world to help, and I really like that where God just wants us to be useful to our neighbors, helpful. And I'm really resonating with that now with this world that I tend to go to too much and realize, okay, this is not reality, but it does affect me, and just put out the love, with all the chaos. And let's see. Oh, and that God doesn't see money. So if you ask for something, it's not going to be where he's going to give you money, but he will send people your way. And I have really noticed that in my years starting in my AA recovery, realizing that all the things that have happened to me in my life were God, and they weren't coincidences now. And I'm learning that. And he brought people into my lives and places for reasons for me to learn. And so that really resonated with me also. And it just for me, this whole experience with all of you, with me these last months, it just goes back to love, love. That's all God is, it's love and be a service. And this one I just thought was very good. And I appreciate Amy, you giving me that information a couple months ago because I have enjoyed a lot of his NDEs. A lot of times I'll go to that, especially when I'm kind of getting crazy with the reality. I'm like, okay, just go listen to an NDE, come, getting that love. And so I thank you for that. And I'm just happy to be with all of you. So happy Thursday.
Thank you so much, Julie. Those are some good highlight, good points. Yeah. I remind myself all the time that part of being in service is to be your authentic self. So being of service doesn't mean giving yourself away until you're empty, right? It means knowing who you are and then being that, and remembering that the other is yourself because there's only one of us here. Mel, good to see you this morning.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I kind of, I just had a whole different reaction to this. And I'll just be open because we're all open here, right? Um, I had recently listened to Helen Hamilton's do one on it's Welcome to Reality. There is only you. So when I was listening to this, I kept on, she talked about karma. It was so dualistic. It just seemed to me just so dualistic. It's entities out there. It's me and them. It's the dark force. And, it just struck me so much as um, the separate self, the mind, these spinning these stories of me and them and the dark force. So I always come back to like, well, what am I? Am I this person who is, listening for this guidance, or am I this person that's worried about these forces and have these feelings I'm dealing with? Or go back to, who are you? You are this. And so that's just, and karma and all, and was played out. So it just struck me as that's what the separate self is going through, is fear and trying to deal with, this issue. So that's what brings me, I try to go back home and remember that. So I just thought I'd just lay that out, that that just played out when I was listening to that really strongly. And let's throw that up for you all. Thanks.
I so appreciate that, Mel.
Oh,
That it played out for me too. And Cindy and I were talking about it, and I hope Cindy will. She really put succinctly where she thought this woman was, and no criticism of her whatsoever. She's doing the best she can, and I'm sure she helps a lot of people. Um, she's at a point on the path which is perfect, absolutely perfect, and but those of us who are really on the non-dual path so appreciate just the more direct pointings, because you get rid of a lot of the fluff. You just don't you just go straight to the oneness, which is really the ultimate truth. But not to say, I mean, it is all the same. It's all one. So no criticism whatsoever, because oneness expresses itself in infinite ways, and this is oneness expressing itself. So thank you for that, Mel.
thank
Bringing
you for the response. That was great.
thank you. I always know you'll bring me right back to to that clear focal point. So thank you. Cindy, what you got?
First thing I want to say, Amy, is we talked yesterday, right? I so appreciated your master class in pulling out the teachings, regardless of the languaging and the way it was presented. Like, your summary was just exquisite. And it represents for me a huge part of why we do this class, which is the truth. We can find the truth in all these different traditions. And the way you just summarize that, even though you and I talked, and I know that her languaging and her belief structure could have easily just knocked it out, so I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Wow, thank you
Stunning.
so much. That
The-
really touches me, Cindy. I really appreciate your words.
The
Start
second
crying.
thing, which is so interesting to me, and I got chills here. Ooh. The second thing, which is so interesting to me, is I didn't remember that I chose this video until Amy and I were talking yesterday, because she's like, I would never have chose this video. And my whole system was like, well, then who chose it? And it was a legitimate, like, it took me a couple of minutes to realize there was this, like, it happened really fast. Bam, bam, bam. 3 videos this one being the third one. And the one before was Sri M. And I can't remember what we did the week before that. But there were like 3 videos in a row that came further and further and further away from what Cindy knows. And they got chosen completely outside of the logical mind. Like, they were not vetted by Cindy before they were placed on the list. And so I didn't even remember that this one was part of it. Amy had to say, Cindy, a couple of times we had to go back and forth until it just dropped. Oh. So that's the second thing I wanted to say. And again, no judgment there at all. It just, more and more I'm becoming aware of how much easier it is for the I don't even know what to call it. There's an intelligence that's flowing through all of us that doesn't utilize the conditioned mind, right? It doesn't need to be part of the personality. And the more I just surrender into this practice, the more it's flowing through me. It doesn't access my memory. It doesn't need to perform and make decisions based on a set of rules that Cindy has created for her personal life. And this was an example of it. Conversation that happened yesterday in Coffee With was an example of it. There are things that are happening in an open door that are illogical based on any rules that Cindy may have set. So I wanted to say that. The next thing, which was just this exchange that Melanie and Amy just had, I lived her life for a long time. When I first dropped into the spiritual life, like, it was crazy. I went from being a type A engineer to studying spiritualism. Like, there was no in between. So for 3-4 years, I was a friggin' spiritualist minister. I was talking to dead people. I was watching transfigurations. I thought we were the Hots Meow and the world didn't, like, that was my intro into breaking apart the sense that this world was real. Like, until that, like, the panic disorder was so bad, I got on my knees and I prayed for help. And the first thing that happened to me was psychics. And all of a sudden, I had never gone to a psychic for a reading, and I was giving readings. I never heard of someone laying hands. I come from a Reformed Jewish tradition, nothing Christian, nothing laying hands. No faith healing was a part of any part of my tradition. And all of a sudden I'm putting hands on people. There's an electric charge and they're getting healed. Like, I was almost a faith healer in a spiritual, like, I did all that. I became an ordained spiritualist minister. That was part of my history. And it was special and it was unique. And there were bad things you had to protect yourself from. And there were us and them, and the physical body was something that you didn't even need to take care of because it ain't real. Like, I went through that for a number of years. And then whatever is controlling this thing shut it all down, and I moved on to the next. Like, I've had a lot of chapters in my life, right? And so what I appreciate about the way she shared was, I think it's Byron Katie taught me. Byron Katie is a representation, and there were a number of other, Regina taught this really well too. She said, just because you've had an awakening experience and you know the world's not real, doesn't mean that the purification still needs to happen. The work to dissolve the belief in a separate world has to take place. And sometimes it's going to take place before you awaken into the realization of oneness. And sometimes it's got to take place after. And one's not better than the other, though. I almost think that doing the purification before seems to maybe work better for many of us, because if you get hit with those psychic abilities and you start believing you're special, it may be lifetimes before the ego gets knocked off its pedestal and you go back to doing the purification work. Byron Katie did it naturally. She had no person left, and these beliefs that her mother hated her were still flooding her system. And she would go and spend days in the desert clearing it up. So this woman really reminded me of that. Like, the purity of the divine was flowing through a structure that was still in place, that believed in good and evil and better and worse, and this is how you do it. And it really lit up for me. I have
Mm.
I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for whatever chose this video and for the conversation and for the practice that we're all engaging in finding the divine everywhere. That's the purpose of this hour, is to find the truth, um, to not throw away the baby with the bathwater, not to turn, to keep listening, to find God in everyone and everywhere. So her passion is beautiful. Her desire to help is stunning. Her willingness to just step out there and tell story the way she does is beautiful. Would I ever hire her at this point in my life? No. Am I gonna go and listen to her anymore? No. But I'm glad she's walking the planet. So
Well, that was pretty passionate, Cindy.
I didn't know it was there.
That was a lot. One of the things I so appreciate about this group is that we are beginning to really learn how different we all are. And yet we love each other and we respect each other and we can talk about anything in this space. And this is the only space that I can come to where I really can rest in my own being and know that whatever anybody says, I can accept it and I can love them for it because it is who they are. Because we recognize something in each other that transcends the uniqueness that we are. So we can love the uniqueness and also recognize the most beautiful, magnificent thing that we all are that transcends even the uniqueness. And so she said, God will always feel good. She said it will be forgiving and healing and promote self-love. And I mean, that to me, that's the signature, right? That is the signature of your own listening. So the lesson for today is God's healing voice protects all things today. So how do I know whether I'm hearing God's healing voice? It will promote self-love. It will be forgiving. It will love my authentic self. And it will say, love yourself for you are what I am. There's no separation between us. Be what you are. He said, tell God what you've done, no matter what it is, and then ask for help seeing the right path. Now, that is very dualistic. I'm going to tell this being what I've done. You're only telling yourself what you've done and then accepting love back from the part of the self that knows what it is. We have, so don't judge anything. She said, once you learn, she said, self-love is the key, not narcissism, but self-love, right? And it's not self-love like love for me. It's the absolute love for itself, which I am. Wow. I think that's so great. She said, God is both very grand and very simple. I loved that. God is very grand and very simple. And the humble version is for those who know what God really is. Yeah. Religions are hierarchies and are not true. She said that. God is, in the eye of God, we are all equal because we are all one. Right. Julie, and then I sort of think I see May wanting to reach for the button. So while Julie's speaking, May, you can decide whether you want to raise your hand or not.
Oh, that's cool. you had touched on this earlier and I forgot to mention that, when you were talking about when we have these feelings and we're supposed to, feel them and then let them pass through us. And that is something that I have really been working on this week, because I used to just run. I would think I was experiencing them and I was letting them go, but I would be active, just doing other stuff. And now I'm learning that I just have to sit and feel them. And then, like, our shadows, like she would call, and then let them pass through and then move on. And so that was a big eye opener for me to hear that again in this video, and then also from what you guys have shared in like I hear that from Rhonda a lot, Julie, just sit in it and feel it. But until this week, I really haven't sat and really let it all pass through. And once this week I did that, it really was, whoa, you could just feel the lightness. And, so yeah, so I'm very appreciative of that. So that's all I wanted to share. So May, it's all yours.
Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you. May, and then
Yeah.
Indega.
Lately I've been like kind of repeating to myself what Amy you said a couple days back. I don't really remember, but don't deny the divine in anything. And it is like that phrase has especially been helpful because it is like, and I've also been like saying like you have to only feed it light because that is the reciprocity involved. And like, and when you start doing that, like it talks back to you and it shows you things. It shows you things. I don't know. Amy, I read something that you wrote the other day about the spirit molecule, the documentary. And I think that like there is something at this, like the intersection of spirit and science. And I think that like we do kind of have scientific like ways to like maybe like like categorize spirit. And it is like, I think that, I don't know, like as you feed it, you can like maybe we're making our own DMT. I don't know. But I would love to talk more about that sometime.
Say that again, May. Say that again.
But maybe we're making our own DMT.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful observation.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that. I would love to talk more about that.
Sick.
Yeah, it's all arising within us, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it is all of all us.
Yeah.
That is a phenomenal movie. I would love to watch that together. That's a phenomenal movie. Thank you for that. Are you complete, May?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, excellent. Yeah, Dago, good to see you this morning.
Hi, everyone. So great to be here. I love being here. I'm
We
just
love you being
it's just such a gift. The best thing. I just I've learned that God is always talking to us, always. It's just we don't know it and we don't believe it. And for me, I just stop what I'm doing. I just stop. I get quiet. I put my hand on my heart, and then I just I hear God and I follow it. I follow whatever it is. I don't need to understand it. I don't need to like it, and I don't sometimes, but I just do it, and it's been so amazing because even though I don't understand it, when I follow it, it's exactly what I need. And it's okay that I don't like it. I just sit with it and I just do it because I know it's my Father guiding me. It is just such a gift. To listen now and to follow. And to know this love that we all are, and that everything is love. That's what I've learned, is that everything is God and everything is love and everything is here for us. It's just when we get quiet and we stop, we can hear what our Father is telling us. He loves us so much. So, and I just love all of you, and I just love being here. So thank you so much.
I love you too, Indigo, and really appreciate your words. I think of you as our resident mystic because you are such a mystical being. It's really beautiful. You just are such a perfect example of worshiping the divine, of that path. It's and it all leads to the same place. So thank you for your words and your being.
Thank you.
Thank you. Going back to Mel's comment, I want to just say something that I've already said a couple of days ago, but it was one of my 3 a.m. experiences of this arising of this sense of angst and anxiety, and it kind of reminds me of this woman's dark spirits kind of thing whispering over your shoulder. And just to use her language, it was whispering to me, this is all you are. This is all you are, this worthlessness, and you're never going to come out of this. This is always going to be with you. And no matter what you do, I'll always come back. I'll always find you, and I'll always be here. And as soon as you relax your guard, I'm just going to come right back. I'm paraphrasing there, but that was sort of the feeling that it was. And so allowing that, it's like, okay, I don't know where this is coming from. And it's extremely powerful. And it's very dark. And it seems to be all I am. But then in a turn, the arising of the thought, what is aware of this? What is aware of this seeming unending, all-pervasive negativity? What is aware of this? And that just came. And it came from the oneness. And as soon as that was recognized, the instant, everything shifted. And then I said, well, what is beneath this knowingness, this oneness, this container in which this darkness seems to be arising? What is this? Can I explore this? And that was just the ground of being. And did it have any of the anxiety in it? No, none of it. And this is what I so appreciate about the non-dual path. You've got to ride through this field of death. And that's what it feels like, a field of death. But if you go through it, underneath it, and there's no course charted, you have to find it on your own when you feel least able to. It will arise on its own. And it's such a beautiful thing. And that is God. That is the absolute. And it is so loving. So I really appreciate Mel's bringing us back to that and bringing us back to that and bringing us back to that. Really appreciate that. And now, William, what have you got? And then Mel. Good morning, William.
Well, good morning. I tell you, I found that so reassuring what I heard you say a couple minutes ago about The darkness is always there. See, to me, that's so reassuring. And just to, I have this paradoxical feeling I am so insignificant that my little piece of particle, the smallest that you could ever imagine, the most insignificant, whatever. It's like, yes, I know that. And then the opposite is which I'm everything, the oneness. And I just feel it's really, I love that I'm not choosing, I'm not the doer, but it feels like all I have to do is claim who I am. That does everything. I don't have to slough through all the thoughts that make me feel so terrible. And it's reassuring to know that's okay because really that's not the truth. That's not the truth. That's not the truth. It's this realization now. And I feel like I'm more and more closer to just, okay, I give up. I recognize the truth. I've been fighting it. And then when I hear different people express their authenticity, like whether it's August before the meeting or, and Amy, I too just love your sewing. My goodness. But you know what? I don't have to compare myself with that. It's like I've got you in my sense of oneness, and I can tune in and listen to you at any time because I think you're so ready to serve and share your authentic, because that's something that you do so well. Well, I do something so well, but it doesn't really matter. It's just that I'm just a part of this total, the oneness. And I listened this morning to Kat, Bob Saylor, the Saylor Adamson's widow, again and again. So much loving right now. It's all, it's just now, just present now. It's just that, I don't, everything is included, but I'm always now. Just listening to her, the love that she involved the last 10 years, even through the cancer, even through pain, whatever. But it was always, no, it's now, the love, the look between them. And I see that that's the oxygen, the water, the feeding. But for me, it's a sense of I know something now. I really know it like I didn't quite know it before. And that's the realization, the real recognizing it's, oh, you mean I don't have to keep doing the 50 push-ups each morning? Oh my God. There's no I to do that even. So, it's like shaking off. And when you said somebody denied denying the truth, that's what I've been doing. It's just that, wait a minute, it's so simple. Stop spouting off what I don't know. And I don't know what I know, but I know what I know. That's the difference. I know. So I just had to say that. And I don't, like August said, it doesn't really matter. I want to look up that unity of protection. But you know what? Knowing the truth is the protection. That's my, that's my, that's got my front, not my back, but my front. And the silence will catch up with the rest. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. It was so clear. It was just so clear. Really appreciate that, William. Thank you.
See, it's even hard for the old one. Me being that clear, I'd like that. But even that, I appreciate it, appreciate. It's okay, it's okay. I'm just showing up. I'm just showing up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mel.
Oh, thank you all. And William, that was great. And Amy, I was reading the story of of Jesus and being tempted 3 times. And of course that happened early before he even started his ministry. And he was in the wilderness, right? And he heard, and there again, quote, voices. It was really thoughts arising, right? Thoughts arising. And each one he was able to see through them and get and return. They called it Satan, right? Dark force, Satan, whatever. They were just thoughts, nothing, just thoughts. And when he fought, the third time, they kept trying to repeat, but and then he saw through, is you were saying, and he saw through that to the divine ground of being. And then it says he was what, embraced with angels. Well, that was just the light, shining through. So anyway, so even someone like Jesus, that's the same thing he went through, the same recognizing that thoughts were just thoughts and recognizing what he really was. So thank you. That's just one.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, when you're in the middle of the anxiety attack or whatever it is, it feels like it will never end, and that's all there is. And I think the absolute gratitude that I have for all of us and for this teaching and for those who came before, like the Jesus, like the Christ one, like the Buddha, who wrote and showed us the path. I just and they're all it's all just the one educating itself back into oneness, you know. It's not some separate person that's doing it and not some separate person that's recognizing it. None of us would know the truth if we didn't already know it. We wouldn't recognize the truth if we didn't already know it. So when you are feeling like, oh gosh, I should be so grateful to this other person because they've shown me something I didn't know, don't forget to pat yourself on the back too, because the truth is in you. That's how you know that it's the truth. It's in you. And Julie, I just want to, before we get off, I want to say, you're going to have a great place to live because you are doing all the right things for making it a great place. And I thank you for sharing that with us because that was a great teaching. So thank you. William.
Can I just add this real quick? And like Julie, you're filling the house with love. The image I have right now, whatever that object of fear, and it's just an object, maybe disguises a fear. I've been all my life trying to change it, get rid of it, overpower it, whatever. And what I'm seeing now is that the awareness is just like a shining white light. And when I shine the light on that, it's like on the screen. Where did that object go? But the light shines it, and so it's disappeared as it's, of course. And so now, instead of trying to wrestle with whatever it is that's disturbing, no, just turn on the light. Just turn on the light. It's so simple.
Thank you. Thank you. And we forget, and then we remember, and then we forget, and then we remember. And when we remember, it's just magnificent. Right? It's magnificent. And so we're all helping each other to remember. That's what we're doing here. Anybody else? The other thing I really liked was her visualization and the way she said, I'm already there. So I may think that I want this house in Italy. And so I say, thank you, God, for giving me the house in Italy. It's like you already have it, you know. So you already are a match for that vibration, right? You're just becoming a match for the vibration. And then maybe you don't get a house in Italy, but you get this beautiful house in Iowa or Nebraska, you know? And it's the same thing. It's not any different, right? But it's such a good teaching. and only give me this if it's in my highest good, right? Because we all have desire. Desire is part of our authenticity, isn't it? You know, it's you wake up in the morning and a thought is in your mind, boy, I'd really like to have a BMW. And you can say, what a stupid thing. Why would I want that? Well, it just arose in your mind. It's okay. Then you can play with it and see what happens with it. And Cindy wants to go hug a tree and she wants to go hug a sequoia. What a great thing to want to do, you know? Um, so she's already hugging the sequoia, right? Isn't she? She's already hugging it. All right. So this afternoon at 4 o'clock, for those who are interested, we're going to take a look at the last section of chapter 6, which is called The Last Step. And this is a very mystical chapter. At last, it's a very mystical section. Yes, it's very woo-woo. There's a lot to it. So if you get a chance to read it and you want to come and talk about it, we'll see you there. And then I'll turn it over to Cindy, who can take it from here. Cindy.